Hey guys, tonight we're taking a deep olfactory dive into an era often romanticized for its grand castles, intricate tapestries, and dramatic monarchical sagas. Tudor England. Forget the glossy period dramas where everyone looks pristine, their teeth pearly white, their skin unblemished, and their breath smelling faintly of lavender. That's a load of historical hooey. A shiny veneer slapped over a reality so grimy, so profoundly pungent, it would make your modern sensibilities recoil faster than a witch finding holy water. Tonight, we're peeling back those layers, not just of silks and brocades, but of grime, sweat, and a whole lot of unwashed humanity. You think you're clean. You think your daily shower is just a routine. By the time we're done, you'll be hugging your bar of antibacterial soap like it's a long-lost lover. Prepare yourselves, because the world you're about to step into is less a fragrant garden party and more a bustling, overflowing privy pit. We're talking about a time when personal hygiene was less a daily ritual and more a cosmic joke, played out on the bodies of everyone from the lowliest peasant to the loftiest queen. Before we embark on this truly immersive and perhaps slightly nauseating journey, do me a solid, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below telling me where you're listening from. Now, dim the lights, perhaps light a strongly scented candle. Trust me, you'll want it. And settle in, because you're about to experience the delightful, disgusting, and utterly unforgettable world of Tudor hygiene. Alright, you've just woken up. The year is, let's say, 1550. The sun is barely peeking over the horizon, painting the grimy cobblestones outside your window in a watery, uncertain light. Your bed, a wooden frame perhaps draped with heavy woolens, is still warm from your body heat. But it's not the cozy warmth you're used to. Oh no, this warmth is lived in. You can feel the slight prickle of straw poking through the mattress, and if you're particularly sensitive, you might even detect the faint, earthy scent of last night's dreams mingling with something else. Something lively. You scratch an itch on your arm, then another on your scalp. Good morning, Tudor England. Your daily ritual, your morning shower or invigorating bath, that blissful moment of cleansing and rejuvenation, is not just absent from your schedule. It's practically a mythical concept, a fleeting dream born from a future you can't even imagine. Let's talk about bathing, or rather, the stark, unsettling absence of it. For you, living in Tudor times, the very idea of submerging your entire body in water, let alone hot water, on a regular basis, is not just foreign, it's actively frowned upon, even feared. Forget your luxurious bubble baths. Forget your quick, efficient showers. What you're looking at here is a society that, for a complex web of reasons, mostly biological and philosophical, has largely abandoned the full-body wash. You see, the prevailing medical wisdom, a legacy passed down from ancient Greek and Roman thought, whispers sinister warnings about water. They believe, with an earnestness that would make you laugh if it weren't so tragic, that hot water opens up the pores of your skin. And what happens when your pores are open? Well, my friend, that's when the miasma, the foul disease-carrying air, can enter your body, seep into your very humours, and throw your delicate internal balance into utter chaos. So, you're not just avoiding a bath. You're avoiding a potential portal to pestilence, a watery gateway to the plague. Doesn't sound quite so refreshing now, does it? So, what does cleanliness actually mean for you in this era? It's not about scrubbing away every last trace of dirt and odour. It's about a different kind of ritual, a superficial kind of polish. You might get your hands and face wet, perhaps in a basin of cold water, a bracing splash that's more about waking you up than truly purifying you. You might even use a bit of soap, a harsh, lye-heavy concoction made from animal fat and ash that strips your skin rather than nourishes it. This isn't your Dove or your Caress. This is a rudimentary, aggressive cleanser designed to tackle the most visible grime, not to create a luxurious lather. And even then, Using it is a matter of practical necessity, not daily routine. Maybe you're preparing for an important meeting with a local lord, or perhaps you've just handled something particularly unsavory. And trust me, in Tudor England, unsavory is a spectrum that stretches further than your modern mind can comfortably grasp. But what about the rest of you? The vast expanse of your body, from your armpits to your ankles, from your back to your, well, you get the picture. That remains largely untouched by water, sometimes for weeks, often for months, and for some, perhaps even for years. Can you feel it? The subtle film of accumulated sweat, dead skin cells, and whatever else has settled on you throughout the days and nights. It's there, a constant companion, a second skin of human byproduct. You might try to cleanse yourself in other ways. Perhaps a dry rub, vigorously scrubbing your skin with a linen cloth. This, they believe, helps to remove some of the superficial dirt and invigorate the circulation. It's a bit like trying to clean a stained rug by simply brushing it. You'll get the loose bits, but the deep-seated filth, the true essence of the grime, remains stubbornly embedded. Then there are the sweeteners. Because if you can't wash away the odors, you might as well try to mask them, right? You might rub fragrant herbs, rosemary, lavender, thyme, over your skin, crushing them to release their essential oils. It's a temporary reprieve, a fleeting illusion of freshness that quickly dissipates, mixing with the underlying body odor to create a complex, earthy bouquet that is uniquely Tudor. For the wealthier among you, there are perfumes, heavy, musky concoctions designed to overpower rather than complement. Imagine a potent blend of civet, musk, ambergris, animalic scents derived from glands and digestive tracts, mixed with floral notes that might smell exquisite on their own, but when layered over weeks of unwashed skin, create a truly singular aroma. You might dab a little on your pulse points, behind your ears, on your wrists. It's a declaration, a statement of wealth, and a desperate attempt to create a personal olfactory bubble in a world relentlessly assaulted by a symphony of stenches. You're not alone in this hygienic neglect. Look around you. Everyone, from the lowest scullery maid to Queen Elizabeth herself, is operating under the same set of constraints and beliefs. Oh, sure, the Queen might have a silver basin and a finer soap, and her ladies-in-waiting might dab her with rosewater more frequently, but the fundamental practice of a full-body wash is still an extreme rarity, an occasional medicinal treatment, rather than a routine. If you were truly ill, a doctor might prescribe a sweating bath to purge the humours, but this is a therapeutic intervention, not a daily indulgence. Think about the feeling of that film on your skin, the subtle stickiness, the faint, ever-present odour that is you. It's a smell you've become accustomed to, a part of your personal identity, just like the rough texture of your clothes or the ache in your joints from hard labour. You might not even notice it most of the time, because everyone around you smells pretty much the same. It's an immersive collective body odour, a shared human experience. When you pass someone in the street, you don't just see them, you smell them, their rank, their health, their diet. It all emanates from them in an invisible cloud, a personal declaration of their existence. The concept of public baths, like those glorious Roman thermal spas that dotted the landscape centuries ago, has largely vanished. The few that remained, or were attempted in London for instance, often devolved into places of ill repute, associated with prostitution and disease, further cementing the idea that public bathing was a morally dubious and physically dangerous activity. So, no communal scrubbing for you. Your cleanliness, such as it is a private, limited affair, conducted in the chilly morning light with a minimal amount of water, a rudimentary cloth, and a profound sense of resignation. You might dream of a refreshing dip in a cool river on a hot summer's day, and perhaps you do indulge in such a luxury on rare occasions, but it's more about cooling down than truly cleaning. The river itself is likely a flowing sewer, carrying the waste of the town downstream, so you're exchanging one kind of grime for another. You might emerge feeling invigorated by the cold water, but you're probably just as dirty, if not dirtier, than when you went in. The thought of soaping up and scrubbing vigorously in that murky current simply wouldn't occur to you. The water is for drinking, for cooking, for washing clothes, infrequently, and perhaps for a quick dip to escape the oppressive summer heat. It is not primarily for washing your precious, vulnerable self. So, as you go about your day, moving through the bustling streets, interacting with your fellow Tudors, remember this: the air around you is thick, not just with the smoke of wood fires and the stench of animals, but with the omnipresent, multi-layered scent of unwashed humanity. It's a potent, organic aroma that permeates everything, clinging to clothes, seeping into wood, a constant, inescapable reminder of the era's unique relationship with water and cleanliness. And you, my friend, are a full contributing member of this aromatic tapestry, a walking, talking, breathing testament to the fact that in Tudor England, a proper bath was less a staple of daily life and more a historical unicorn, rarely seen, often doubted, and almost certainly a harbinger of ill fortune. You are, in essence, a living, breathing, beautifully fragrant human sponge, absorbing and emitting the very essence of your time. Welcome to the Tudor reality. You've managed to avoid the full-body bath, but now a more pressing biological imperative arises. Nature calls, and in Tudor England, it's not a polite, discreet whisper. It's a booming, unavoidable shout. Forget your porcelain throne, your soft toilet paper, your scented air freshener, and your discreet flushing mechanism that whisks away all evidence of your personal contributions. You are now standing on the precipice of Tudor waste management, and believe me, it's a precipice that often involves precarious perches, communal smells, and a distinct lack of privacy. Let's start with the most basic necessity: the privy. For you, if you live in a substantial house or a castle, you might have the relative luxury of a garderobe. The very name, derived from the French garde-robe, meaning to guard robes, tells you something about its secondary function. The ammonia fumes from the human waste collected below were believed to repel moths and other pests from expensive clothing stored nearby. Charming, isn't it? So, you might find yourself perched on a wooden seat, sometimes with a hole directly leading down into a cesspit or a moat, or even a river if the architecture allows. Imagine this: a narrow, cold room, perhaps shared, with a gaping hole beneath you. The air is thick with the ammonia tang of urine and the ripe, earthy smell of excrement. The sounds: a symphony of splashes, echoes, and the occasional grunts of your fellow castle residents as they relieve themselves. There's no flushing, of course. The waste simply accumulates, layer upon putrid layer, until it's deemed full enough to be cleared. Clearing a cesspit is not a job for the faint of heart, or for anyone, really, who values their olfactory senses. The gong firmers, or gong farmers, a beautifully euphemistic title for the poor souls tasked with this truly awful job, would descend into these pits, often at night, to avoid public outcry from the stench, and shovel out the accumulated human waste, often referred to as night soil. Can you picture it? These hardy individuals, often wearing protective clothing, though likely not enough, wading through feet of human effluent, their lanterns casting an eerie glow on the glistening, foul-smelling contents. The smell would be a physical assault, so potent it could make your eyes water and your stomach churn for hours, perhaps days afterwards. And all this, just so you can relieve yourself into a slightly less full pit. This night soil, by the way, wasn't just left to rot. It was often highly prized as fertilizer for fields, completing a rather disgusting yet practical cycle of human waste. But what if you don't live in a grand castle or a substantial house with a dedicated garderobe? What if you're a humble peasant or a burgeoning merchant in a bustling town. Your options are far less structured. Your local privy might be a wooden outhouse, perhaps shared by several families, tucked away behind a row of cottages. It's usually a simple hole dug into the ground, often shallow, covered by a rickety wooden structure. The stench here is even more concentrated, mingling with the buzzing of flies that are drawn to it like iron filings to a magnet. The ground around it is likely saturated with overflow, especially during heavy rains. And privacy? That's a luxury you can truly forget. Often, these privies are communal, with multiple holes side by side, encouraging a kind of shared, pungent solidarity. Imagine sitting there, squatting next to your neighbor, both of you grunting, sighing, and contributing to the growing mound. Beneath you, the conversations that must have taken place in these intimate, malodorous settings. And then there's the chamber pot. This is your ubiquitous, ever-present personal receptacle for urine, and sometimes for more solid waste, especially during the night. Every household, from the humblest dwelling to the grandest palace, would have them. They're ceramic or pewter pots, often stored under beds or in a corner of a room. You wake up in the middle of the night, needing to urinate. You reach for the chamber pot, perhaps fumbling in the dark, relieve yourself, and then slide it back, under the bed. Simple, efficient, but it sits there, accumulating its contents until morning. Imagine the smell, trapped under your bed, slowly permeating the air in your sleeping quarters. That distinct, acrid smell of stale urine is a constant backdrop to your existence. What happens in the morning? Well, someone has to empty it. If you're wealthy, a servant does it. If you're a commoner, it's you. And where does it go? Oh, the streets, my friend. The bustling, vibrant, disgustingly fragrant streets of Tudor England. You open your window, perhaps with a shouted warning of "Gardy-loo," a corruption of "Garde-lo," watch out for the water, and unceremoniously dump the contents of your chamber pot into the gutter below. It splashes onto the cobblestones, mixing with the refuse from other households, the discarded entrails from butchers, the droppings of horses and other animals, and whatever else has found its way into the street. The narrow gutters, running down the middle of the street, become miniature rivers of filth, flowing sluggishly with a horrifying cocktail of human and animal waste. Can you hear it? The sloshing, the dripping, the occasional splash as another chamber pot is emptied. Can you smell it? The indescribable melange of urine, feces, putrefying organic matter, and general urban grime. It's a scent that would grab you by the throat, a physical presence in the air. When you walk these streets, you don't just walk on dirt. You walk on a constantly refreshed, multi-layered carpet of excrement and refuse. Your boots would be caked in it, and you'd have to be constantly vigilant to avoid stepping into the deeper puddles of liquid waste. Children play in these streets, oblivious, their bare feet squelching in the unspeakable muck. Animals forage in it, adding their own contributions to the grand tapestry of filth. This casual dumping of waste isn't limited to the streets. Imagine the River Thames, the lifeblood of London. It's not just a transportation highway, it's a giant, slow-moving sewer. Garderobes from riverside palaces and houses often empty directly into it. Boats ferry goods and people alongside floating carcasses and human waste. The very water that people drink, that fish are caught from, that clothes are washed in, is teeming with the biological output of an entire city. It's a miracle, in a way, that anyone survived at all, and for the truly desperate, or for those caught short in the middle of a busy market or a crowded event, what then? Discretion is, shall we say, a fluid concept. You might duck behind a cart, find a dark alleyway, or simply relieve yourself where you stand, hoping no one notices, or if they do, that they don't care enough to make a fuss. The corners of buildings, the less trafficked side streets, the walls of churches. These all serve as impromptu urinals, their stone surfaces permanently stained and emitting a faint, acrid tang, even on the freshest of days. The very fabric of the urban environment is permeated with the ghosts of 1,000 urgent bladders. The sheer volume of human and animal waste produced daily, with such rudimentary methods of disposal, created an environment that was not just smelly, but profoundly unhealthy. This constant exposure to pathogens, parasites, and bacteria was a foundational element of Tudor life, a silent, invisible killer that contributed to the high mortality rates and the constant threat of disease. You are, in every sense, living in a bacterial wonderland, a microscopic war zone where your immune system is perpetually on high alert. So, the next time you find yourself in the comfort and privacy of your modern bathroom, with its gleaming fixtures and its efficient plumbing, take a moment to truly appreciate it. Think of the stench of the garderobe, the communal squalor of the outhouse, the quiet horror of the chamber pot, and the vibrant, putrid rivers of filth that flowed down Tudor streets. Remember the gong firmers, those unsung heroes of historical sanitation, wading through human effluvium so that society could, literally, move forward. You, my friend, are an integral part of this malodorous landscape, a contributor to its sights, sounds, and most importantly, its unforgettable smells. And as you walk through this world, you carry not just your own personal scent, but the faint, undeniable echo of every privy, every pisspot, and every raw, unapologetic act of human biology that defines Tudor England. You've navigated the morning's ablutions, or lack thereof, and the daily biological imperatives. Now, it's time to get dressed. And oh, what a process that is in Tudor England. Forget your minimalist approach, your quick changing rooms, your machine-washable fabrics. You are about to encase yourself in layers upon layers of clothing, each designed for warmth, status, or protection, but none, absolutely none, designed with ease of cleaning in mind. In fact, these garments become a kind of personal, portable ecosystem, a silent archive of your daily life, collecting not just the dust of the street, but the sweat of your brow, the oils of your skin, the remnants of your meals, and the faint, persistent emanations of your unwashed body. Let's start with the undergarments. If you're a man, that's likely a linen shirt, maybe breeches. If you're a woman, a smock or shift, also made of linen. Linen is the hero here, the unsung champion of Tudor hygiene, for it is the one fabric that can be washed, and indeed is washed with some regularity. This is your first line of defense, a barrier between your skin and the expensive, difficult to clean outer layers. The linen draws moisture away from your body, absorbs some of the sweat and oils, and then, ideally, gets laundered. But laundered doesn't mean a quick spin in a washing machine. It means boiling in harsh lye soap, beating it against rocks, or a washboard, rinsing it in a stream or river that might also be carrying the town's waste, and then drying it in the sun. This is a laborious, time-consuming process, typically done perhaps once a week, or even less frequently for some. So, while your linen shift or shirt might be clean today, by tomorrow, it's already begun its journey back into the world of lived-in odors, absorbing the essence of you. Now, on top of this relatively clean, for a short time, linen, come the main event, your outer garments. For the wealthy, this means sumptuary laws dictating what you can wear. Fabrics like velvet, silk, brocade, damask, taffeta, wool. These are heavy, richly dyed, often embroidered, and incredibly difficult to clean. For the common person, it's sturdy wool, perhaps linsey woolsey, a blend of linen and wool. Tough and practical, but equally resistant to a thorough wash. The crucial thing to understand about these outer layers is this: they are never washed. I mean, truly, fundamentally washed in water. The very idea of soaking a velvet doublet or a silk gown in water would be met with horror. The dyes would run, the fabric would shrink, the intricate embroidery would unravel. These garments represent a significant investment, a statement of your status and wealth. To risk them in a wash tub is unthinkable. So, what happens instead? Your clothes are aired. You might hang your doublet or gown out in the sun, hoping the fresh air and sunlight will dissipate some of the odors. You might beat them with a stick to dislodge dust and dirt. You might have them brushed vigorously. For stains, you might try a spot cleaning with a bit of a damp cloth, or perhaps some fuller's earth, a type of clay used for absorbing grease. But this is a superficial treatment, not a deep cleanse. Imagine wearing the same wool doublet for weeks, months, even years. Every scratch, every stain, every drop of food, every brush against a dusty wall, every bead of sweat that penetrates through your linen shirt, it all becomes a permanent part of the garment's history, a living record of your existence. Can you feel it? The weight of the heavy wool, the rustle of the silk, and can you smell it? Your clothes absorb everything. The smoke from the hearth, the damp earthiness of the stables, the lingering aroma of the market, the distinct smell of your own body. Over time, these layers of scent combine, creating a unique, personal aroma that is inextricably linked to you. It's not necessarily a sharp, aggressive stench, but a deep, earthy, musky, human smell that is simply the accepted norm. When you sit down, a faint cloud of this personal essence might waft up around you. When you move, your garments whisper tales of their long, unwashed life. And then there are the pests. Where there are unwashed fabrics and human warmth, there are often fleas and lice. Your clothes, particularly the thick, heavy woolens, become excellent hiding places for these unwelcome companions. You might feel an itch, a sudden prickle, and subconsciously scratch, perhaps even excusing yourself to discreetly pick a louse from your hair or shirt collar. This is not a sign of poor hygiene unique to you. It's a shared experience, a common nuisance that everyone, from the Queen down, contends with. Remember, the Queen herself was known to have lice. It was simply a fact of life. Your garments are not just fashion statements. They are also portable, multi-story apartment complexes for an array of tiny, blood-sucking inhabitants. To combat the pervasive odors, the Tudors, especially the wealthy, turned to sweetening. This isn't about cleanliness. It's about camouflage. You might have pomanders, decorative balls of perfumed wax or spices, ambergris, civet, musk, rose petals, cloves, carried on a chain or hung from your belt. You would lift it to your nose, periodically taking a deep sniff, hoping to momentarily override the surrounding stenches, including your own. Your chambers might be strewn with strewing herbs, rushes, lavender, marjoram, sage, to provide a fresh scent underfoot and absorb some of the dampness and odors. Your clothes themselves might be deliberately infused with scents. Your gloves, for example, could be perfumed, a subtle statement of elegance and a strategic olfactory weapon against the general funk. Imagine going to court, dressed in your finest, most elaborate, unwashed garments. You stand amidst hundreds of other courtiers, all similarly attired, all similarly fragrant. The air in the great hall is a thick, resonant blend of strong perfumes, fighting a losing battle against body odor, stale sweat, the lingering scent of unwashed hair, and the faint, ever-present effluvium of animal dung carried in on boots. The elaborate ruffs, those magnificent stiffened collars, are not just fashion statements. They also serve to keep your head a respectable distance from your potentially malodorous body, acting as a kind of scented buffer zone. What about your hair? Washing your hair, like washing your body, is a rare event. It's likely greasy, perhaps, braided or covered by a coif or cap to keep it somewhat contained. For men, beards are common, and they too accumulate the day's debris. Powders and pomades are sometimes used, not for cleaning, but for styling and adding a temporary, superficial, Scent. You might brush your hair, maybe vigorously, to remove loose dirt, but a full shampoo is practically unheard of. The oil from your scalp and hair mixes with dust and environmental pollutants, creating a dull, often matted texture. The concept of freshness as we understand it simply doesn't exist. Your clothes, your skin, your hair, they are all living testaments to the continuous interaction with your environment, an evolving repository of accumulated experience. When you peel off your clothes at the end of the day, there's no satisfying sense of shedding dirt, no quick trip to the laundry hamper. Instead, you're merely taking off one layer of accumulated history to sleep in another. Your linen shift, which will then be washed. Your outer garments are folded and put away, ready to begin another day of absorbing the world, unchanged, uncleaned, and steadily building their unique personal aroma. So when you see a portrait of a magnificent Tudor figure, resplendent in their velvets and silks, remember that behind that stoic painted gaze, there's a person who likely hasn't had a proper bath in months, whose clothes are a museum of old smells, and who probably scratched at fleas with a practiced, unconscious ease. Their fashion is a triumph of appearance over cleanliness, a testament to the fact that in Tudor England, looking good was paramount, and smelling good was a delightful but utterly unattainable fantasy. You are not just wearing clothes, you are wearing a living, breathing history, layer upon pungent layer, a testament to the unique and surprisingly resilient human relationship with filth. Welcome to the wardrobe of the Tudors, where every thread tells a story, and every fibre holds a scent. All right, you're dressed, you've navigated the streets, and you've accepted your personal, portable aroma. But as you move through your Tudor day, you're not alone. Oh no, you're never alone. You are a walking, talking, warm, delicious buffet for an army of microscopic and not so microscopic creatures. Welcome to the constant, pervasive, and utterly inescapable world of Tudor pests. The Bugs and Bites Brigade, a relentless, multi-legged nuisance that picks, crawls, and sucks its way through your daily life. Forget your modern pest control, your sprays, your traps, your fumigations. Here, you are simply part of the food chain, a biological hot plate for anything with enough legs and a taste for human byproduct. Let's start with the most intimate of your companions, the lice, head lice, body lice, pubic lice. These tiny, insidious creatures are an almost universal fact of life. You wake up in the morning and the first instinct might be a subconscious scratch at your scalp or a quick rub of your arm. The itch is constant, a low-level hum beneath your skin. You feel the faint prickle, the telltale sign of a louse traversing its domain, or the bite as it feeds. It's not just an irritation, it's a constant, nagging reminder of your biological reality. You might see the nits, the tiny eggs, clinging to your hair shafts like grains of sand, and dealing with them, it's a daily battle, not a definitive victory. For the wealthy, there might be ivory or fine-toothed horn combs used to meticulously comb through hair, attempting to dislodge the tiny invaders. You'd sit for a servant, perhaps by candlelight, as they slowly, carefully, picked through your strands, plucking out the offending creatures with practiced fingers, crushing them between thumbnails with a satisfying tiny pop. This isn't a sign of someone being particularly unclean. It's simply a universal chore. Everyone has them. Everyone deals with them. For the common person, a simple wooden comb or even just fingers will do. The constant scratching, the subtle adjusting of your cap or coif, the quiet frustration. These are all part of the Tudor human condition. Imagine being at court, trying to maintain an air of dignified composure, while beneath your elaborate wig or within your meticulously styled hair, a veritable colony of lice is having a bustling convention. The sheer willpower required to suppress an overt scratch to maintain the illusion of unbothered grace. must have been immense. Then there are the fleas. Oh, the fleas! These acrobatic little bloodsuckers are everywhere. They jump with astonishing agility, finding their way into your clothes, your bed, your pet's fur, and then, inevitably, onto you. You'll feel the sudden, sharp bite, a tiny pinprick that quickly develops into an infuriatingly itchy red welt. You might pause in conversation, subtly reaching under your doublet or into your petticoats to scratch furiously. It's an unconscious habit, a part of your daily rhythm. The very air around you might feel alive with them, especially in places where people and animals congregate. The market, the tavern, the church, the floor of your home, especially if it's covered in rushes, which are themselves fantastic. Hiding places for fleas is a veritable playground for these tiny terrors. To combat fleas, various strategies are employed, none of them truly effective. You might try to carry a flea bag, a small pouch filled with fragrant herbs like lavender or pennyroyal, believed to repel them. You might encourage your dog to sleep near your bed, reasoning that the fleas will prefer the dog to you, a dubious strategy at best. You might even have a small live pet like a stoat or a ferret, specifically to draw the fleas away from your person. A furry, living flea trap. Imagine that. A pet whose sole purpose is to be more attractive to parasites than you are. The sheer desperation speaks volumes. The sensation of a flea crawling on your skin, the sudden dart of its movement, the maddening itch of its bite. These are constant sensory inputs, a subtle, inescapable torture that simply becomes part of the background noise of life. And let's not forget bedbugs. When you finally collapse into your bed at night, tired from a day of incessant itching and the subtle discomfort of your unwashed self, you're not necessarily finding respite. Your straw mattress, your heavy wool blankets, the very wooden frame of your bed, these are all potential havens for bedbugs. You might wake up with rows of itchy red bites, often on exposed skin, a testament to the nocturnal feast your tiny bedfellows have enjoyed. You scratch in your sleep, exacerbating the irritation, breaking the skin, and potentially inviting infection. The thought of your bed, your supposed sanctuary, being a crawling mass of tiny blood-engorged creatures is a chilling one, but it's a reality you simply learn to live with. You might beat your mattress vigorously, hoping to dislodge them, or try to air it in the sun, but these are often temporary solutions to a persistent problem. Beyond the immediate skin crawlers, there's a larger ecosystem of pests sharing your world. Rats and mice are ubiquitous. They scurry through the walls, across the floors, gnawing on stored food, leaving droppings everywhere. You hear them at night, the telltale scratching, the faint squeaks. They're not just a nuisance, they're carriers of disease, particularly the dreaded plague, harbored in the fleas they carry. So, a rat isn't just a pest, it's a potential harbinger of death, a tiny furry omen of widespread suffering. You might keep cats, of course, but even the most diligent feline can't keep up with the sheer numbers of rodents in a bustling Tudor town. Flies, too, are a constant presence, attracted by the omnipresent food waste, the animal dung, the overflowing privies, and the generally unhygienic conditions. They buzz incessantly, landing on your food, on your face, on any exposed skin. They carry disease on their tiny legs, transmitting pathogens with every landing. You wave them away with a practiced flick of your hand, a futile gesture against an overwhelming force. In summer, the sheer number of flies can be suffocating, a buzzing, macroscopic cloud of irritation that follows you everywhere. The psychological toll of this constant assault can't be overstated. You are perpetually itchy, perpetually aware of tiny crawling things. Your sleep is interrupted, your concentration broken, your skin a roadmap of bites and scratches. It's a persistent, low-grade torture that shapes your daily experience, making you more resilient, perhaps, but also more accustomed to a level of discomfort that would send a modern person into a frantic search for antihistamines and insect repellent. You learn to live with it, to incorporate the scratching and the vigilance into your daily routine, to accept that your body is a battleground. This isn't just about feeling gross. It's about a constant, low-level war with the microscopic world. These pests aren't just annoying. They are vectors for disease. Fleas carry the bubonic plague. Lice can transmit typhus. Flies spread a host of gastrointestinal illnesses. Your constant exposure to these creatures means your immune system is always working overtime, and even then, often losing the fight. The prevalence of these pests is a direct consequence of the lack of widespread hygiene, the proximity of animals to humans, and the rudimentary waste management systems. So, as you go about your day, perhaps trying to read a manuscript by dim candlelight, or haggling for goods in the market, remember the unseen army that marches with you, the faint, incessant itch, the sudden sharp bite, the buzzing in your ear, the scuttling in the walls. These are the sounds and sensations of your Tudor reality. You are not just a human being. You are a moving, breathing, living habitat, a testament to the triumph of biological resilience in the face of microscopic, multi-legged adversity. You are a part of the Bugs and Bites Brigade, not just as a victim, but as a host, intimately connected to the teeming, unseen life that defines your era. You've managed the bugs, you've accepted the body odor, and you've navigated the streets. Now let's talk about your mouth. Open wide, my friend, and let's take a look at the state of your Tudor oral hygiene. Prepare yourself, because this is where the constant gnawing presence of discomfort, pain, and outright decay truly asserts itself. Forget your daily brushing, your flossing, your mouthwash, your regular dental checkups, and the dazzling white smiles that populate modern advertising. Your mouth in Tudor England is less a pearly gateway to pleasant conversation and more a battlefield of attrition, a landscape of lingering food particles, decaying enamel, diseased gums, and a breath that could fell a small animal at 10 paces. The concept of preventative oral care, as we understand it, is virtually non-existent. You don't have toothbrushes with soft bristles and ergonomic handles. You don't have fluoride toothpaste designed to strengthen enamel and fight cavities. Your primary tools for oral hygiene are rudimentary at best. Perhaps you might rub your teeth with a rough cloth after a meal, trying to dislodge some of the more obvious food debris. Or you might use a chew stick, a small twig with a frayed end, essentially a primitive toothbrush, but without any cleansing agent like toothpaste. Some might even resort to rubbing their teeth with salt or charcoal, abrasive substances that might remove surface stains, but would also contribute to enamel erosion over time. The most common method for cleaning, if it can be called that, is simply rinsing your mouth with water, or perhaps wine for the wealthier among you. This might dislodge some loose particles, but it does little to address the persistent plaque buildup, the bacterial film that clings to your teeth and begins the inexorable process of decay. Imagine the sensation, a thin, fuzzy layer on your teeth, a subtle roughness that builds up throughout the day. Your tongue constantly brushes against it, a perpetual reminder of the unclean state of your mouth. And your diet. It's a major contributor to your dental woes. If you're wealthy, you have access to sugar, lots of it. Sugar is a luxury, a status symbol, and it's consumed with gusto. Think elaborate desserts, sweetened wines, candied fruits. Every one of these is a feast for the bacteria in your mouth, accelerating tooth decay at an alarming rate. Queen Elizabeth, for example, famously had terrible teeth, blackened and rotted from her love of sweets. If you're a commoner, your diet is likely heavy in coarse grains, often unsifted, which can be abrasive and cause wear and tear on your teeth. Hard bread, tough meat, and a general lack of softer, nutrient-rich foods all contribute to a punishing environment for your pearly whites. So, what's the inevitable result? Tooth decay. You experience it as a dull ache, then a sharper pain when you bite down. then a throbbing agony that keeps you awake at night. You might have visible cavities, dark holes eaten into your teeth, perhaps even crumbling fragments where the enamel has completely given way. The pain is constant, disruptive, and there's little you can do about it. Painkillers are rudimentary. Perhaps opium if you're wealthy and desperate, or a bit of local anesthetic like oil of cloves applied directly to the tooth. But these are temporary reprieves, not solutions. When the pain becomes unbearable, your only real option is extraction. And this is not a gentle, sterile procedure performed by a skilled dentist. Oh no, this is a brutal, terrifying ordeal. You would go to a barber surgeon or perhaps even a blacksmith, someone with strong hands and a pair of pliers or forceps. Imagine this scene. You sit in a chair, perhaps restrained, your mouth wide open. The barber surgeon, likely with unwashed hands and tools that have seen better days, grips the offending tooth. The pain, when they wrench and pull, would be excruciating, a blinding flash of agony that resonates through your entire skull. You might scream, you might struggle, you might feel the tearing of tissue and the cracking of bone. The after effects, a gaping, bleeding hole in your gum, the lingering taste of blood, and the very real risk of infection. Many people died from infected extractions, succumbing to sepsis days or weeks later. The sight of someone with missing teeth is incredibly common. Look around you. People with gaps in their smiles, some with blackened stumps, others with visibly decaying teeth. It's not just a matter of aesthetics. It affects how you eat, how you speak, and your overall health. Chewing becomes difficult, so you might favor one side of your mouth or resort to softer foods. Your speech might be affected, a lisp or a whistle from the gaps. Beyond decay, there's gum disease. Without proper cleaning, plaque builds up, leading to inflamed, bleeding gums. You might experience chronic bad breath, halitosis, a pervasive, unpleasant smell that emanates from your mouth. This isn't just about the food you eat. It's about the bacterial colonies thriving in your mouth, feasting on plaque and decaying tissue. For the wealthy, there might be attempts to mask bad breath with chewing herbs like parsley or mint, or rinsing with perfumed waters. But these are again superficial treatments. The underlying problem persists, a constant source of discomfort and social awkwardness. Though in a world where everyone likely has some form of bad breath, it might be less noticeable. You might also suffer from canker sores, abscesses, and other oral infections, all exacerbated by poor hygiene and a weakened immune system. The constant irritation and the open wounds in your mouth serve as entry points for bacteria, leading to further pain and potential systemic illness. Imagine trying to eat, to speak, to simply exist with a mouthful of throbbing pain, bleeding, gums, and an ever-present foul taste. It's a persistent, daily torment, a silent suffering that affects every aspect of your life. The aesthetics of teeth are also different. Blackened teeth, caused by decay or by the use of certain cosmetic substances, like soot or lead for whitening, paradoxically, are sometimes even considered fashionable for the wealthy, a sign of their ability to afford sugar. So, your bad teeth aren't just a curse. They can, in a strange twist of Tudor logic, be a perverse status symbol. But this hardly diminishes the constant pain and discomfort you endure. So, as you go about your day, perhaps trying to enjoy a meal, remember the state of your Tudor mouth, the rough, fuzzy feeling on your teeth, the dull ache of a cavity, the tender soreness of your gums, the constant awareness of your own breath. These are the intimate realities of your oral landscape. The next time you visit your modern dentist, with their sterile tools and their comforting gas, spare a thought for your Tudor counterpart, enduring a brutal extraction at the hands of a barber surgeon. With only a swig of ale to numb the pain, you are a living testament to the sheer fortitude required to navigate a world where a healthy, pain-free smile was a luxury almost beyond imagining, a constant struggle against the inexorable forces of decay and discomfort. You've endured the daily grind, the constant discomfort of your unwashed body, the ceaseless itching from unseen inhabitants, and the gnawing pain of your rotting teeth. Now, let's tie it all together, because the truly disgusting hygiene habits of Tudor England aren't just about discomfort or social faux pas. They are about life and death. You are living in a bacterial minefield, a viral playground, where every cut, every bite, every breath carries a potential death sentence. This segment is where we confront the grim, overarching reality, the direct, brutal link between pervasive filth and the omnipresent threat of disease, and the baffling, often barbaric, medical attempts to combat it. Imagine your body as a fortress, perpetually under siege. Your skin, the primary barrier, is constantly compromised. The lack of regular washing means accumulated dirt, sweat, and dead skin cells create an ideal breeding ground for bacteria. Those incessant flea and louse bites, each one is a tiny puncture, an open wound, an invitation for infection. The cuts and scrapes you get from daily labor, from clumsy movements, or from simple accidents, are not carefully cleaned and disinfected. Instead, they are often left exposed, attracting flies and dirt, festering into painful, pus-filled sores that can quickly turn gangrenous. Can you feel the throbbing heat of an infected wound, the red streaks radiating outwards, a silent alarm bell signaling a deeper, more dangerous battle being fought within your body? The water you drink, if it's not from a relatively clean well, is often drawn from rivers or communal sources that are simultaneously serving as open sewers. Cholera, dysentery, and other waterborne diseases are rampant. You might experience the sudden violent onset of stomach cramps, uncontrollable vomiting, and debilitating diarrhea, a rapid dehydration that can claim your life within days or even hours, especially if you're a child. The very act of quenching your thirst is a gamble, a roll of the dice with your life. You might try to boil your water, but fuel is precious, and the link between clean water and good health isn't fully understood. So you drink, and you pray, and you often suffer. The air you breathe is thick with the miasma, not just the theoretical, bad air that Tudor doctors worried about, but the very real, pathogen-laden air from decaying organic matter, unemptied privies, and the breath of thousands of people living in close quarters. Tuberculosis, the white plague, slowly consumes the lungs, leaving you with a persistent cough, fever, and a gradual wasting away. Pneumonia, influenza, and other respiratory illnesses spread like wildfire, particularly in the cold, damp winters when people huddle indoors. Imagine the sensation of that raw cough, the ache in your chest, the struggle for breath, a constant reminder of the unseen enemies lurking in the very atmosphere around you. And then there's the plague, the Black Death. Though its most devastating, waves had passed, still lingered, a terrifying shadow. The rats, the fleas, the unhygienic conditions. These were the perfect vectors. You might wake up one morning with a fever, a splitting headache, and then notice the telltale buboes, swollen, painful lymph nodes in your armpit or groin, turning black. The fear, the panic that grips the community is palpable. People flee, abandoning the sick, sealing up houses, hoping to outrun the invisible killer. The sight of the Red Cross painted on a door, the cry of, "Bring out your dead." These are the stark, terrifying realities of a world constantly on the brink of epidemiological disaster. The smell of death, the scent of fear, becomes woven into the very fabric of urban existence. So what do you do when you fall ill? You consult a doctor, if you can afford one, and here you encounter the doctor's dilemma, a medical establishment operating under a framework of theories that, while logical to them, were fundamentally flawed by modern standards. The prevailing belief is the four humours theory, Your body is composed of 4 essential fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. And an imbalance in these humours causes disease. Good hygiene, as we know it, has no place in this model. Instead, treatments revolve around restoring humoral balance. Imagine this: you're feverish, your limbs ache, you have a persistent cough. The doctor, a learned man, perhaps dressed in a somber gown, examines you. He takes your pulse, inspects your urine, often tasting it, and ponders the alignment of the stars. His diagnosis will likely point to an excess or deficiency of a particular humour. The treatment? Bleeding, for instance. A barber surgeon, often the same person who pulls teeth, might open a vein or apply leeches, draining blood from your body, believing it will remove the bad humour. You feel weak, dizzy, perhaps even more ill, as your precious blood literally drains into a bowl, or perhaps purging, a violent induced vomiting or diarrhea to expel unwanted humours. You endure the discomfort, the indignity, the further weakening of your body, all in the name of restoring balance. These treatments, far from helping, often further debilitate an already struggling body, making you more susceptible to secondary infections and prolonging your suffering. Herbal remedies, concocted from various plants, are also common, some with genuinely medicinal properties, others pure quackery. Poultices are applied to wounds, often made from unsanitary ingredients, potentially introducing more bacteria than they remove. A doctor might prescribe a specific diet or instruct you to breathe sweet air from a pomander, but the fundamental link between dirt, germs, and disease remains largely unknown, a terrifying, invisible gap in their understanding. Children are particularly vulnerable. Infant and child mortality rates are shockingly high. Diseases that are now easily treatable, measles, whooping cough, diphtheria, become silent, relentless killers, sweeping through communities, leaving behind a trail of grief and empty cradles. You see it all around you. Families with many children, but only a few surviving to adulthood. Each death is a tragedy, but also a stark, frequent reminder of the fragility of life. Your resilience, then, is not just a personal quality. It's a necessary condition for survival. You live with a constant background level of discomfort, of pain, of the subtle threat of illness. You develop a tough constitution, or you simply don't survive. The world is a hard, brutal place, and your body is constantly battling against the unseen forces of a profoundly unhygienic environment. The concept of a sterile environment, of germ theory, of antibiotics, these are centuries away, a distant dream in a future you can't even begin to imagine. So, as we conclude our journey through the disgusting hygiene habits of Tudor England, reflect on this. Your daily rituals of cleanliness are not just about feeling good. They are about protection, about health, about life itself. The modern world, with its clean water, its sanitation systems, its medical science, is a direct, monumental repudiation of the casual filth and constant disease that defined your Tudor existence. You, my friend, are a testament to the sheer, unyielding power of the human spirit, surviving and thriving in an environment that was constantly, relentlessly trying to kill you. The Tudors were not just people of grand ambitions and dramatic histories. They were people of incredible resilience, fighting an invisible war every single day. Their lives shaped by the pervasive, disgusting, and utterly inescapable reality of dirt and disease. As you step back into your clean, sanitized world, take a moment to appreciate the profound gift of modern hygiene. It is perhaps the greatest legacy of all, a silent victory over the unseen scourge of the past.